the Interpol requests are not obligatory. Ombudsman Remulla disclosed that information about the ICC warrant because he wanted Bato to hide, because I don't think they want to do the same thing that they did to PRRD. If it's state to state, it's extradition. If it's state to an international court, it's called surrender. When you do surrender, you have to follow the applicable rules for surrender. The Rome Statute is clear.
You have to
present them to the local judicial authority.
Yeah, which in our case would be the Philippine courts.
Yes. The Constitution itself mandates the Philippine government to prioritize national interest over cooperation with foreign entities.
Ito ang nakakagulat na balita ngayon sa mundo ng politika. Pakulo ng administrasyon laban sa mga Duterte at kaalyado nito mukhang tuluyan na ngang binara ng Korte Suprema. Ito ay kaugnay nga sa nakaraang revelasyon ni Ombudsman Remulla na di umano ay mayroon na silang kopya ng ICC warrant para kay Senator Bato de la Rosa na talagang ikinagulat ng lahat dahil nga baka gawin din sa kanya ang nangyari kay dating Pangulong Duterte. Sa isang panayam kay ATTY.PAOLO, ang legal counsel para sa petisyong writ of Habeas Corpus ay tahasan nitong sinabi na ang ginawang pahayag ni Remulla patungkol sa ICC warrant kay Senator Bato ay isang pakanalang di umano upang magtago ito at gamitin ang lahat ng mga posibleng remedyo dahil nga hindi na nila maaaring gamitin ngayon sa kanya ang ginawa nila noon sa dating Chief Executive. Isa nga di umano sa mga naging balakid ay ang nakaraang pahayag ng Supreme Court kaugnay sa Rules on Extradition Proceedings na kung saan ay nilinaw nga nito ang mga alituntunin na kailangan sundin bago pa man maipadala ang isang nasasakdal palabas ng bansa. Ayon din kay ATTY.PANELO na di umano ang palusot hindi umano isang extradition ang gagawin bagkus ay pag-surrender sa nasasaktal ay kailangan pa din sundin ang panuntunang nakasaad sa Article 59 ng Rome Statute at yon ay ang pagdaan sa isang competent judicial authority sa isang custodial state at yun nga ay ang ating mga korte dito sa bansa. Ngayon ay hinihintay na lang ang magiging pagpapasya ng Supreme Court sa writ of Habeas Corpus petition upang tuluyan ng matuldukan ang usaping ito. Ating pakinggan ang nasabing pahayag.
The reason I asked about Interpol was because in the Senate hearing that looked into the inquiry into the arrest of former President Duterte, what was being cited was not our commitment to the ICC because we have withdrawn from the Rome Statute, but it was according to the people who attended DOJ Secretary Boying Remulla at the time. They were citing our commitments to the Interpol, our international commitments.
Right, but that doesn't really mean anything because I think everybody knows by this time that the Interpol requests are not obligatory. And what's more important is and it's our position that the Philippine government can no longer recognize ICC jurisdiction, and they cannot do that indirectly by complying with the request from Interpol.
Okay. Yeah. In your urgent motion, you mentioned the deteriorating health of former President Rodrigo Duterte while in ICC custody. Can you share with us any information on the current health status of the former president?
We can only go by the filings of Nicholas Kaufman, and he's filed a request for indefinite adjournment of proceedings because of PRRD's unfitness to stand trial. He notes deteriorating cognitive health of the former president. But in my personal experience, the last time I saw the president was in January, just over a month before he was taken away to The Hague. I had dinner with him, with my dad, Sal Panelo, and Senator Bongo. And at that time, he was already visibly weak. He needed to be assisted to stand and to walk. He literally had to be carried off the ground to be put inside his car. And his memory was failing him. I remember that the campaign period for the national elections was just about to start. And Senator Bongo was going over the campaign activity schedule for the week with him. And PRD goes, Bong, kandidato ka ba sa election na to? So, and they just shot a campaign video of endorsing the re-election of Senator Go. So that tells you what kind of condition he was in, even before he was arrested. So my issue with the interim release decision of the ICC is, how can this man in this condition be considered a flight risk? How can this man be considered how can this man have the capacity to intimidate witness or interfere with investigations? How can this man be considered influential in a meaningful way if his own government violated its own constitution to deliver him to an international court without jurisdiction? So that just tells you, to me, the denial of the interim release is not just a denial of provisional liberty, but also a denial of humanity and justice.
Well, Kitty gets to see former President Duterte the times that she visited Hague. Did she share with you yung health condition of her father?
Not recently. I only go by the interviews that they give right after they visit. And of course, they say he's okay, but you don't have to be a medical expert to know that this man is not fit to stand trial, let alone detention. Yeah.
Your urgent motion also cited the danger of repetition as a reason for the Supreme Court to decide the petitions for habeas corpus. But last November, then Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said that the same process that they used to arrest former President Duterte can no longer be used because of the Supreme Court's new rules on extradition. So do you believe that there's no longer any risk that the same manner of arrest might happen to Senator Bato de la Rosa or other people that might be subject of future ICC warrants of arrest?
Yeah, the thing is that after Executive Secretary Bersamin said that, a few days later, the DOJ goes, clarified that they still have the option to go to this executive surrender option. So they told us, the DOJ itself told us, that they can do it again to Senator Bato de la Rosa. But, it's not just Senator Bato de la Rosa and whoever the co-accused of PRRD turned out to be. This case, I think, is also relevant to the ordinary Filipino because the danger here is in a writ of habeas corpus, it can be, what the government is saying is that it can be simply defeated by removing a person outside the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court or of our local court. So it's a slippery slope that the Supreme Court should put a stop to and address immediately.
Mm-hmm. Well, would granting the petitions for habeas corpus that you filed for former President Duterte undermine the Philippines' cooperation with international bodies, or would it reinforce our sovereignty?
Yeah, I think the Constitution itself mandates the Philippine government to prioritize national interest over cooperation with foreign entities. So I think it would show that the country is a sovereign nation and we are a country of laws, and that we won't let foreign entities influence our domestic affairs.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any information as well as to where Senator Bato de la Rosa is right now?
No, but I don't really blame him. He's already seen what happened to PRRD, so I don't blame him if he's making himself elusive to Philippine authorities. But I have a theory. About that. I think that Ombudsman Remulla disclosed that information about the ICC warrant because he wanted Bato to hide. Because I don't think they want to do the same thing that they did to PRRD. They're projecting that it was legal and everything, but I think they announced this precisely so that Senator Bato could exhaust his remedies.
Okay, so
that's
your theory. Okay,
yeah.
But if this petition does get decided by the Supreme Court, it can benefit Senator Bato de la Rosa, in a sense that should it go the direction of settling the issues that you raised?
Definitely, definitely, because it's going to be the same issues. Can the Philippine government surrender a person subject of an ICC warrant without going through the local court? I think that's the most basic question. And of course, our position is that they have to go through the judiciary. There's no option to bypass the judiciary.
Yeah, and with the new rules of extradition issued by the Supreme Court, it does seem to make it clear na kailangan dumaan sa local courts.
Well, yes, in concept, in principle, but what the DOJ is saying is that this is not extradition, this is surrender. But the thing that we've discovered since filing the urgent motion is really surrender is not what the DOJ says it is, which is, to them, it's an executive option that can bypass the local courts. But what we've discovered since filing the urgent motion is that surrender is a technical term for when a state delivers a person to an international court. So it's just a technical term. So if it's state to state, it's extradition. If it's state to an international court, it's called surrender. So it just means that when you do surrender, you have to follow the applicable rules for surrender. And in terms of the ICC, the Rome Statute is clear.
You have to
present them to the local judicial authority.
Yeah, which in our case would be the Philippine courts.
Yes.
If the Supreme Court dismisses your petition for habeas corpus, what legal options remain for former President Duterte?
Well, a motion for reconsideration, of course, but if that fails, then there's also still the proceedings in the ICC itself. And if the Supreme Court will dismiss the petitions and say the executive has the prerogative to surrender an individual to the ICC, then maybe the next administration can exercise the same discretion to try to bring him back, even without a Supreme Court order.
Okay, and finally, some critics might say that this is political than purely legal when you filed that petition for habeas corpus. How do you address perceptions that this is a political rescue mission rather than a constitutional remedy?
Oh, like I said, it doesn't affect just PRRD, not only affects Senator Bato, it affects every Filipino. If you speak out against the government, there's a danger that this government can take you away outside the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court or the court and say, we can't do anything about it anymore. So this is a real issue. It's a real problem that should be addressed.
Thank you so much, Attorney Paolo Panelo, and a pleasure